Hey, welcome, Andrew. Good to see you again. I'm Ushirla DeBerry. I'm here for our virtual and last town hall of the year. I know people have been looking forward to, or people are looking forward to the holidays coming up soon. But before that, we want to check in and hear from you and see how we can improve on our services at ODHH. Um, We haven't done introductions. Diamond, if you'll introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Diamond, and I Management Government Office of Deaf and Hard of Hearing.
Thank you, Diamond. We have another team member, Tanae, who's joining us.
Hi, I'm Tanae Brown. I'm Interpreter Manager here for Government Office for Deaf and Hard of Hearing.
Thank you, Tanae. Is there anyone else in the audience who's here that would like to introduce yourselves? Hello, interpreter Nicole Struck. And they say they're just here to see what's happening. So today we also have our SBSLI interpreters meeting tonight at 7:30. And they have a special announcement. Um, that's on our calendar already that we do have the town hall meeting as well. So thank you. Okay, Diamond, if you want to go ahead with the PowerPoint. Okay, next slide, please. We've done welcome and introductions already. We'll move forward with our agenda. So, for the record, the agenda today, we started with welcome and introductions. Now we're doing objectives and agenda here. And then background on GODHH, the Governor's Office of the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, and our statute, what we are required to do and responsible to do. Next will be the DILA town hall notes that will share what was discussed there. Next is the Hagerstown town hall notes. Same idea. We'll discuss what was discussed there. Cumberland town hall notes, what came up there. And then the virtual town hall notes. We'll be sharing those with the community. And then we'll have an open forum and let you participate in discussing some of the issues and topics and other things that we'll discuss at this meeting. The GODHH statute as well is will be included in the discussion. And we'll be adding some action items from what is discussed tonight pertaining to what's ahead, what needs to be done. Thank you for joining us as always. We're looking forward to improving and growing, and we're looking forward to hearing from you. That's one of our objectives is to hear from the community. There's no growth, there's no function if we don't listen. We're not perfect, but we do want to listen and we want to get to as close to perfect as we can and do the best service that we can for the community. So thank you for that. And so we will be able to answer some questions. If not, I will be following back up with you. We'll also be gathering feedback. Next slide, please. Before I began, I saw someone's comment in the chat. and it says, please use the link below to register for SBSLI meeting. So that is tonight at 7:30. Thank you for putting that in there. So make sure you've registered and make sure that you're present at that meeting. I appreciate that. We expect a big group tonight. Yes. Okay, for the background, slide one, I'm going to give you a few minutes to read it and then I'll comment.
The office is responsible for the general welfare of those deaf and hard of hearing communities in the state of Maryland. We provide advocacy, we coordinate, and we take any public policy roles, policy regulations, programs that will benefit these individuals. Latest federal census of 2020 indicates that 1.2 million Marylanders who are deaf or hard of hearing, at least in 1 year. For persons who are deaf, deafblind, and hard of hearing, the office seeks to improve access to communication services and programs, works with state and local agencies to ensure access to safety and emergency services, and strives to increase access to educational, health, and social opportunities. This law was authorized in 2001, and it was July of 2002 is when this Office of Deaf and Hard of Hearing began operations. So we're celebrating our anniversary here in this office, and we have a job fair open house that will be connecting things as we do, making sure that they align with our current administration. Our Mormon administration's priorities. We can see some of that discussion through this presentation today. Next slide, please. You can take a minute and read that briefly. The governor's office, this is a appointed position. Governor's office of the deaf and hard of hearing represents the governors following their priorities of more Miller administration and promotes equality and accessibility for Marylanders by providing their expertise that enhances the general welfare of Maryland's deaf and hard of hearing residents. Our vision is that those Marylanders who are deafblind and hard of hearing will have equal access to resources, services, and opportunities for preparation in all aspects of community life. And so you can reach out to us through email, you can walk in, you can call, you can visit. We host events, and we have a tracker that shows what happens with those that you meet with. It becomes part of our report, our community data. We have a report due on Tuesdays. It used to be Thursdays, but it is once a week. And those 36 leaders are required to show those different reports weekly. That's one example to be included in the weekly report. Who we met with, how often, what was the reason that we met, the resources, are they available to them? our resources that we have? Are they helping? Are they are able to get in and meet with people, or is it taking a very long time? Um, Seeing if we've given the right resources out. Next slide, please.
And this slide is basically more background information on how this office was established. So, for the past 30 years, we've been working to identify the issues here in Maryland related to the deaf and hard of hearing from 1966 to 2001. So, finally, the office became a reality for the community. We worked heavily and closely with the Maryland Association for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, and we continue to work with them today. Our focus is continued on serving the deaf and hard of hearing community and their needs. The Maryland General Assembly recognized the need for the creation of the office to serve Maryland's deaf and hard of hearing individuals. And at the time, Maryland became the 32nd state in the United States to have this specialized office for the needs of the deaf and hard of hearing community in Maryland. We also want to recognize that Maryland is the second state that has an office that reports directly to the governor. We're working on a commission or a board for the deaf and deaf blind so that we are able to collect more data to see if another commission needs to be established to work on extended programming for services for the deaf, hard of hearing, and deaf blind here in Maryland. We know that there are just part of the community that's using the resources at this time. And also, more work needs to be done for interpreters to become certified. The next slide talks about a bit about our responsibilities. So we are one of the coordination offices here. We're currently at 100 Community Place is our address. And this office is one of many other offices here. We focus on advocacy and coordination of the adoption of public policies, regulations, and programs. Our priority is to focus on making the Maryland economy more competitive, keeping our communities safe, expanding opportunity and support for Maryland families, and to make Maryland a state that serves. And you can find more about our priorities on this website. The reports must align with our priorities. Next slide, please.
This is for questions, any concerns. You can add that on the form. We don't have to discuss that right now today. Put that link in the chat, okay? And that'll help for anything that you feel like we can improve on. Now, this discussion is from our legal requirements here for this office. We are hosting, so the host has to have Four of these. Next slide, please. So here's four dialogue discussion points about state services here, the quality and the programs that affect deaf and hard of hearing individuals, the functions and operations of the office. Uh, we it can be very raw here. We're hearing how we can improve any functions in the community or functionality, any other issues that affect deaf and hard of hearing individuals, including those specified, as you know, and working with the coordinating office for state and federal. Uh, I know that can be a challenge for going between the two. That will be a discussion point today. Next slide. All right, well, I'll turn it over to you. It's an opportunity now to talk about any services that you feel are worthwhile throughout the state, any programs that you feel are impactful through our deaf and hard of hearing individuals. Some of you may have arrived before we did our introductions. Would you like to introduce yourself before we continue? And if so, go ahead and go camera on and introduce yourself. I think David wanted to say something. David Behar? Okay. Put the question in chat, I see. Is that better? All right, well, we'll go ahead and move along. I'll tell you about with my experience here with the quality of services here with our state program. Recently, we had a conference with our immigration affairs, and that with that group, we talked about what are the possible things we can predict from language deprivation, not only about people or their English speakers, but also people those what do you would say that they haven't met a standard uh, skill level of their language, maybe going to school, delayed ASL, thinking about state level, how can we improve with interpretive services relating requesting uh, an interpreter on the state level, um, MDOD, Maryland Department of the Maryland Department of Aging, and other departments are getting that on the state level. But understand that that is going, the request is for their employees, or sometimes, oh, they have a person who has an appointment. And how do we handle those interpreter requests instead of, so some will have to have a contract. They would have to, to hire an interpreter under that one agency. Some they will just go directly with a freelance interpreter instead of through an agency. So there's just various types of budgets or different types of interpreters we can get if we decide to go ahead and centralize our interpreter usage through on a state level. Then we could set up an office where we are helping develop a program for those interpreters on a state level and have Maryland terminology for, let's suppose I need a press conference. I just want an interpreter from those cohort that would be available to go ahead and do a platform style in interpreting assignment with the governor, a high profile assignment like that. Some interpreters don't feel ready for that. They haven't gotten enough training or not enough experience at that level, and that was brought up in that meeting. Talking about a state level program, we have noticed that interpreters would often issue would come up a lot. So we're trying to find a good approach to resolving that. If there's no discussion on that, we can go ahead and move on to the next topic, the next discussion point. The next is functions and operations of our office. Anyone like to have a concern or comment here? If what, you can type it in the chat if you prefer not to be on camera. So I'll go ahead and tell you a few things that was shared with us recently. So when a person wants to visit the office and wants us to quote unquote contact their employer for them, like an EEO related issue, we're not able to reach out to their EEO for them, but we can guide them. For example, if they give us permission to speak with their employer and explain, that they are looking for support regarding communication access and that maybe they're not understanding what their employer or HR is advising them to do. Some deaf people have a concern that when that situation comes up, they're wanting some more support than just guidance. They're wanting more of a program regarding how we can best serve our deaf and deaf-blind, hard of hearing community members who are working. When the uh, government excludes people from work through shutdown, or they just decided to get bought out, or maybe an early retirement package, that thing can be very frustrating on how we can communicate and help them find a job. So while we are hosting a job fair here, some employers have struggled if they hiring. Maybe it's expensive, and how can we do the accommodation? So maybe we need to spotlight more deaf people who are, um, employed. They have skills. They want to work, but then we have to deal with some deaf who do have challenges at work, who may not have enough access to communication for effective communication through team meetings. They're not having interpreters, and the best way for communication is not provided. We have hosted deaf cultural events, and we've shared that on a state level on how to connect with your deaf colleagues and what are the social cues, are the norms with interacting with your deaf colleagues. We did let people know that there's no one size fit all, It's based on that individual who you are working with. Some deaf are oral, some deaf prefer to type or text, and some prefer to get an interpreter. Uh, just and depending what you need an interpreter for, is it a small meeting, is it a big meeting, a one-on-one, HR, all those factors are just different situations that can come up. Both deaf and hard of hearing have been uh, with all three of those communities. We can educate and partner with how to work with our deaf peers. We partnered with Johns Hopkins Hospital because they would need some ongoing training support on why hiring interpreters at the hospital and what type is the best for the hospital and what to do if there's an emergency that comes up. Not just interested in that, but just deaf culture aspect, just the interaction with deaf people whenever they come up to the hospital. Some definitely prefer not to, but you can wave like that, that type of thing. We had breakout sessions, and we are now on to our third session with them. That training is internal with their staff, so it's part of their professional development. Now, for the deaf that wanted more support services, we would go out to our deaf blind, deaf, hard of hearing, uh, and bring that to them, and they realized they needed to bring that to the General Assembly. And so when we did that, that was on their recommendation. They had a recommendation and to explain why this office needs to expand. Historically, it's only been about three staff members or three and a half. So we wanted to grow this office. We wanted to grow our services around the state as well, based on the need. Uh, any concerns that you'd like to bring up? Always room for improvement. If you could fill out that form, we can send you that form. We'll put it in the chat um, as a link, or you can just type that form out just for some feedback. All right, we'll go ahead and talk about our travel to Eastern Shore, West Maryland, and what are the commonalities and things that show up that with both areas. And interesting enough, I know that we have mostly interpreters this afternoon. And so, we're talking about interpreting requests, right? For West Maryland and Eastern Shore, both are really lacking they're in a dire need for more interpreters for their areas in West Maryland. We've been talking about, the interpreter situation. How can we get more interpreters? And what's our possible plan? What can we do to, support that area to help the interpreter uh, availability grow? We talked about partnership with West Virginia and Pennsylvania because they're close to West Maryland to be able to help expand that interpreting network through that area. And now for Eastern Shore, most interpreters over there are retired nowadays, and we wanted to figure out what we could do with interpreting licenses, the requirements. They were some of them are not interested in going through the certification process, so we're wanting to see why that was and how we can meet the deaf needs for effective communication that they would need an interpreter for. So that is a uh, has come up a lot, especially for hospitals. Hospitals are using video remote interpreting instead of a live in-person interpreter. And we've learned that what is happening is when you get a video remote interpreter, it seems like it's going well, everything's going fine, and we can use it for the next 2 or 3 hours. If you're done and you're discharged, then you don't need an interpreter. But if it's a longer stay, then you could use that via remote interpreter until we get a in-person interpreter to show up. Those are the different stories that we've heard come up. We have a new interpreter, Kishandra Convo. Thank you for joining us. I guess we can go to the next slide. Diamond, do you mind?
Just coordinating with other units and typing in the chat. I see it says coordinating with other units of the state, federal government services. And do you guys have any topics or any discussions that you wanted to bring about this topic? Okay, I will go ahead and discuss about this. Diamond, do you mind turning this slide off? Okay, so this one of my responsibilities is to be able to show up and with the original center. We do have the original center in Jessup, Maryland, and that original center will close down. However, they do have 80 incarcerated individuals. We don't call them inmates, we call them incarcerated individuals. And those 80 deaf or hard of hearing or hearing loss group, and my responsibility is to be able to find out where they will end up going. And so the common concern is that they're not able to have a roommate that's hearing or, a temporary able-bodied person. It's not allowed to be partnered with a deaf person. They have to be partnered with the right person, so to speak. And so the police or people that are working, they don't have any ID. So they go in there with no ID and they're just working, and someone says, hey, you need to have a badge, and they don't have one. So with that, the problem is that the deaf people, they don't know who that is. They're not able to file a complaint if something concerning pops up. They ask them what their name is, they avoid, and they won't give them their name. So those are two interesting things. So that is something that they prevent them from having. This is a reoccurring issue, and these people, they don't want people to know who they are. So that means that the deaf uh, incarcerated inmate is not able to write them up, but they do still have to file out something that's concerning about how they're being treated in their original center. Now, their warden says, it's fine, go ahead, fill out something, and we'll figure out who it is. Interesting enough, instead of giving them a badge and telling them they're telling the incarcerated inmate that they have to fill out this. So it's a catch 22. So I'm not really sure why this keeps happening, but that is a reoccurring issue that we're trying to address. Now, where they will go, we don't know yet, but we are working with the secretary to try and find out where they'll end up going next. So let's go ahead and pause here. Okay, there is a question in the chat. Okay, I'll look at that soon. Okay, let me go ahead and pull that up. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Okay, so the first thing is about 80 of the deaf incarcerated individuals there at Jessup. Again, we don't know where they're going to be going, and they aren't using their name tags. Now, if they do continue to go somewhere else, we do want 20 of them to continue with their schooling, and they would stay together and not be spread out across the state of Maryland. Now, my role, I do work closely with the state and hopefully be able to help the deaf stay together. Interesting, they are able to call me on the video phone. So they are able to call here on the video phone, leave a message for the answering machine, and I'm able to see them signing, but I'm not able to return the call back. So I'm not able to do that. I'm able to call them back. And so they don't keep a tablet with them and they share the tablet with amongst themselves. And, if it's an emergency, then, if something happens and they're not able to have the tablet. So it seems that there's a secure reason behind that. But with the hearing population, they do still have their phones. They have their cell phone. They're able to have, the deaf people are trying to figure out why they can't have access to a video phone. So that is a big question. Interesting enough, the other issue that's popped up is the hearing aids, and they haven't been able to get hearing aids. They're supposed to get hearing aids soon. So they waited 2, 3 months. The other issue is that the person does have a hearing aid, but no hearing aid battery for 2 years. So that's pretty challenging. What's going on with the batteries? And the batteries aren't the right batteries for the batteries for a lamp and for a remote, that's different. These are medical batteries that are for a hearing aid. So these medical batteries for the hearing aid, they must fill out, form, and they have to have a process in order to see a nurse uh at the facility original center. So there's a process for that. It does take longer to be able to get their services that they need. So I just want to let you know.
Okay. Oh, okay, the interpreters are going to switch. That's what it was. That's an example of working with the state. Oh, that's just one example. Anybody from my team want to add something about an example of working with the state? Like HT, human trafficking. Anyone want to make a comment about that? Just an example. All right. Please show up and say something. Hi, yes, we are working with human trafficking and we are making preparations for the longest time because we want to make sure that we are having access for those deaf and deafblind, deaf hard of hearing. Human trafficking have so many different forms that we overlook, but it's really important for those community members to know what it is and recognize the signs. And for that event, that includes video from the Gallaudet University. It includes three people that were on a panel, and they explained, one person was a facilitator for those questions and everything. But I think it's important to spread awareness about human trafficking. Yeah. And maybe deaf, deafblind, hard of hearing are not realizing that it's even called human trafficking. That maybe their own family members have been involved, and learning what's really involved with human trafficking, and what are how are they try to what are they how do they behave? How do they try to get people to do what they want them to do? For example, a family member hires a deaf to clean person to clean, but they don't say hi. They don't say anything about um, you know money. They just maybe they'll take their social security. They're working and they never see their money. And some family members are using each other, selling their children. They don't say they're selling. It's like a trade-off, and then they find out that actually that was a human trafficking situation. Oh yeah, I just thought of something. One of the panel members said that they had uh, a a personal experience with human trafficking. Another person was working with turnaround, and I think I'm not sure if they were deaf or hard of hearing, but yeah, um, it's just and Ursula, I think you were on that panel too, but Ursula was explaining some of this people don't see the signs of human trafficking. On a state level, we were invited to be participate in that, yes, and to spread awareness about human trafficking. During our discussions before our event, we also talked about what are the possible signs for deaf, deafblind, hard of hearing that they can do without signing ASL. But we could identify something's going on with about human trafficking. And that's something that's in the works, trying to decide what to show. They did show some, I guess, hand shapes or movements from the hearing side, but does the deaf community want to use the same ones? Would that cause more confusion? So Gallaudet is doing some research on that. And there's some research because there's just not enough data out there that we need to collect some more data for that. Yeah, state, federal. Okay. I want to add one more thing and think we can move on related to at the federal level. We were invited, our office was invited to Bethesda Summit related to LEADK, Lead K, language acquisition for our deaf kids. And that group, they were trying to decide on a federal level if all the states should have that program. Maryland has not yet. They did have a panel. They invited staff Holland and his team, Senate, excuse me, Senator Holland and his team, and they discussed something that we wanted to do all this on a federal level. And there was it was a big different topic to discuss to help buy in and know why we needed that. So Maryland has been trying like 3 times, has tried to pass in a legislative session, but the issue comes up regarding education and health. So Maryland State Education and our Maryland Department of Health, some services that they provide overlap, and we're trying to not have those overlap. We're having trying to have a write a cleaner bill, and hoping it goes through in our legislative session for 2026. We'll see, but that kind of work, drafting a bill that comes from sponsors and stakeholders. Our sponsors, Senator King and um, Delegate Bagnall, and some larger stakeholders in the Maryland Deaf agencies, Maryland Deaf MDAD. If we decided to go ahead and pursue this on a federal level, we'll work closely with the state of California on that. For now, on a local level, we will just stick with Maryland for the Deaf and our sponsors that we're closely working together with. Right now, we're waiting to see what the bill looks like. Sometimes you may see like, okay, what are the positions? When I say positions, like, can I support or not? Can I withdraw support? But I could show up and, you know, just to show some moral support. So that is a way to support. I can write my testimony or why I'm supporting that. Often, maybe not why I may not have a position, a supportive position, or maybe funding reason. Let me look at the chat.
I do see Nicole said regarding the interpreter network that you mentioned, is this a list of preferred interpreters or programs to help train interpreters to take more of this work? I do believe that we have a preferred interpreters list, but sometimes if they're not available, we do go with what is next. So a person we would call highly qualified. As far as training, mm, that is a good question. What I do know is we have our meeting, we have a study table that is required under our state board sign language interpreting, and that group studies, um, they share different things with them, different topics that pop up in the state of Maryland, especially press conference related, and how they can better be prepared for that type of platform. We do want to see more of that anyways, especially for the state level as far as interpreting. Sometimes those who are frequent interpreters, they do use them to help guide the new coming interpreters or the to mentor them. And sometimes we do work with agencies and they have mentorship. Um, so that is set up through their agency to work with that interpreter. Now, for us, we mostly do ours through freelancing or using the agency to work with another agency to support the interpreter. So we do have a preference, but in the state of Maryland, we would like to grow our network. And so if your preferred interpreter is not available, that will only limit us. And we do want to share that knowledge and be able to help others to improve and become skilled as well. So now Nicole did ask a question. Okay, so the next question I see is from David. Did you want to show up on camera? So you said that is there a list of individuals at each uh, department correctional facility in the building where deaf inmates. Sorry, we don't refer to them as inmates. They're called incarcerated individuals. Um, where they can see who's going to be responsible for who's overseeing the hearing aids. And okay, go ahead, David. David is saying yes. So let me pull up the document. Okay. Okay, so I see from 2012, it seems like there was approximately 12 or that was approximately 12 or 13 years ago. And the U.S. Department of Justice, they sued DC, DPSCS because they were not providing email for the incarcerated individual. And later that settled, and DPSCS decided to provide an ADA coordinator for all prisons. And for each one, that person would be responsible for coordinating services for that person that's involved, including hearing aid, interpreter, video phone, and all of that. So, do you know where I can find that list of those assigned individuals? And I think maybe that would help you in regards to someone who can work out the hearing aid issue and the batteries and all of those things. Interesting. Yes, thank you, David, for that comment. Interesting enough, um, I went to their meeting uh, for about 2 years, and their ADA coordinator is Michelle Gardner. And the most recent meeting had a discussion. It was more hot because of soon it seems like, again, they're going to be dispersed. They're not sure where the deaf individuals are going to go. And they're aware that this building is going to shut down. But I told Michelle, I said, it seems that every time I come to these meetings, it's the same issues and it's a bit concerning. So she asked me to stand up and get a report. And I stood up and I shared that that was a part of my report, that this really isn't gaining any traction and that people were still waiting. And so their response was the high turnover with the staff. So the high turnover rate with the staff, new warden, new assistant warden, new leaders as far as who's leading the meeting. But they did receive a cart, they did receive an interpreter, and that time period that I showed up, there were new interpreters. They had a new contract with the same agency, but they changed interpreters. But the issues remained. And the argument was, oh, the reason why is because of the high turnover rate, and they had to retrain staff. Staff would make a mistake and they would continue and just say, okay, we'll just do a refresher and review what they previously learned and how they could continue to interact with the deaf. And because of that, they continued to do that because of the high turnover rate. And they weren't trying to lose people because you have to have people that are there working, and if they don't, that means that the deaf people, they have to stay, they have to continue to wait, and they're not able to come out and socialize. And so what I see was that of the deaf individuals, they do take care of each other. They ask each other what they need and they just take care of each other. And really that can improve. So on paper, it does seem perfect. Oh, they have an ADA coordinator and this, and that. But actually, when you look inside and you arrive and you see everything, it's actually a different story and it's a lot of waiting that's happening.
Sorry, I'm late.
I'll continue to follow through and keep fighting with those about this. This is just too important because right after that's finished at the correctional center, they have a reentry program. The reentry, they're excited to work with them. They're
I think
ready.
she's muted. The girl who's making sign language. I think she's muted.
Who? What?
I'm sorry, who?
The girls that's supposed to be talking.
Who's talking?
Hi, Director DeBerry is deaf. She will be using sign language.
Sorry, I'm late.
Mm.
Oh, that's somebody else. Okay. Well, thank you for your comment, David, and we will continue to pursue this. We'll keep pushing through. I just got the name of the person who will be helping, who will be letting me know where the discussion is, where the deaf will be going when that facility closes, what will end up happening with them. It seems like this is a dialogue to continue to
Hey,
happen.
come on, don't type
Thank you.
that in the chat. Look what he put in the chat. Look what he put inside of the chat.
See,
He put nigger in the chat. Look at it.
Hey, why you saying that word?
Don't say that in the chat, bro.
Why are you saying that word? That's disrespectful.
Hey, don't mute me. That's disrespectful. I can stop talking
Hey
when I
guys, I'm
feel like
sorry
it.
to say this. Can you guys stop Zoom bombing? I'm here to understand, bro. Can you guys please stop?
We're not Zoom bombing. What do you mean? I'm not deaf. Ooh, ooh.
I'm sorry, I'm just gonna hold the meeting really quickly.
Don't hold it. Come on. Look at your hair. It's low-key embarrassing. Is it a bad hair day? You had to mute me. I saw you do a little grin. Is it a bad?
Okay, I think we are okay to proceed. I'm sorry about that, everyone.
Start with AI?
No, people interrupting.
Oh, okay.
oh, some not nice people today. It's important. We wanted to learn from our experience of what had happened for our deaf people in the state of Maryland. Okay, next slide. All right, the next meeting will be next year, Tuesday, May 19th at 4 p.m. to 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. That will be virtual, while we will be hosting another two in person. We will make those announcements soon. Um, and any questions before we wrap it up this morning? Okay, thank you. We will post this video online for others to watch, minus those inappropriate comments for the meeting. But it is important to be able to see this content regarding deaf, deafblind, and hard of hearing. We typically post this on our YouTube channel. If you could please follow us. Our next slide, please. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Convo Interpreter, for interpreting this meeting. I appreciate your support voicing it. Thank you, Brady. Take care, everybody. Anything come up, reach out to me. Any questions, you have my email. If there's other support that's needed, you can use our evaluation link from Diamond. She put in the chat, and you can go ahead and submit that way. That's it. Thank you. See you later. If you come to the meeting tonight, I will see you there. Bye-bye.